We are jumping into section 8.1. It says Zomnia Cookies is a bakery known for delivering warm cookies to your house until all hours of the night, as long as you live within 5 miles of the shop. So number one says use the map to determine which people Insomnia Cookies will deliver to. So you have on your little map there, you have a little legend that tells you how far 2 miles is. So you can double that and then half one more and find out what 5 miles looks like. You could take out a little scrap of paper and try that out. Or you could have gone over and measured what 2 miles is in centimeters and gone from there. So the ones that they are going to deliver to would be Seth, Julietta, and Let. Now, plot one more location, Paul, that you know for sure they will deliver to. So I made Paul super close to Zomnia Cookies, definitely within 5 miles. Plot another location of Peter that you know for sure will not. So I put that outside of that 5 miles. Now it says plot a location Jen that is exactly 5 miles away from Insomnia Cookies. So I used my little scrap of paper that I had shown what 5 miles was, and I went over and put a location of Jen, and I said that that was 5 miles away. Next, plot 10 more locations, label them 1 through 10 that are all 5 miles away. What do you notice? So when you start doing this, you're starting to find out that these points are all falling along a circle. Plot all possible locations that are exactly 5 miles away. Well, all of them, if you just keep putting more and more and more dots that are 5 units away, or in this case 5 miles away, it's going to make a circle. That tells us that a circle is all points that are equidistant from a point on a plane. That is one way to define a circle, is all points equidistant from a point on a plane. Next, assume that the store is located 4,7 on the coordinate plane and the person's house is located 11,15. Is the person within the delivery radius? Well, we just have to find out if the distance between those 2 points is going to be 5 or less units. So let's try it out. You do 11 minus 4, which is 7, 15 minus 7, which is 8, 7 squared, 8 squared, and when you put those together, you get a rad 113, which is about 10.7, and that is more than 5 miles. So what we find here is that if the definition of a circle is all points equidistant, you're talking about distance, and the distance formula is going to be helpful in some way for figuring out the equation of a circle. Next, coordinates on the coordinate plane. Assume that Insomnia Cookies is located at 5, 3 on the coordinate plane. We know that a person is living at x, y is right on the 5-mile boundary. Set up a distance formula such that the person's house is thought of as 0.2 and the cookie shop is 0.1. You will not be able to simplify this completely. So when you do this, you would do x minus the x coordinate, which is x minus 5 squared, plus y minus 3 squared equals the whole length, which we know is a distance of 5. Okay. Now it says that we're going to create an equation that represents, and that is not supposed to be 5. Sorry about that. That is supposed to be, no, it is supposed to be 5. Okay. Now it says we are going to create an equation that represents all points x, x1, y1 that are our distance for radius from any store location h, k. Have the store be 0.2 and the person's house be 0.1. So what we would do here is you do x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r, the radius. Now we don't like to have that squared, the square root in our equation. So if I went over and got rid of it by squaring both sides, you now have x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. That is the equation of all possible circles. So that is the equation, just like y equals mx plus b is used for the equation of a line, and y equals absolute value of x is used for the basic absolute value function, and ax squared plus bx plus c equals y is a quadratic. This is the equation we use for a circle. There's by default that minus and the minus, so the x minus and the y minus, and then h and k are going to be your center. And the number on the other side, whatever it is, that is the radius if it had been squared. So your quick notes. Circle is all points that are equidistant from a point on a plane. H comma k is the center, and then you have x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. That is going to be the equation of a circle. We'll be able to substitute numbers in there to make an equation of a specific circle. And by default, you're going to have minuses in there. So if it is x minus 2, then that means that the x-coordinate is positive 2. If it was y plus 3, then it's actually going to be the opposite. The y-coordinate of the center would be negative 3. Okay, you'll see how this works when we start practicing a little bit. It says check your understanding. Write the equation of the given circle. So the center is at 2, negative 3. So I'm going to put an x, and by default a minus, and then the x-coordinate, which is 2, and parentheses squared, plus y minus, the y-coordinate is negative 3, so it's y minus negative 3, which becomes y plus 3 squared equals, and when you see this radius being 4, you just put 4 squared. You could also put a 16, but if you leave it as 4 squared, it's easy to find out that the radius is 4 rather than 16. People always look at the number and think that that is the radius. And they forget that that's the radius if it had been squared. Identify the radius in the center of the circle given by the equation of that. Well, it is a positive 9 and a negative 1. So remember, it's the opposite of what you assume. So it's actually a negative 9 and a positive 1. And then the radius is not 36. 36 is if the radius was squared. So the radius is going to be 6. Error analysis. Ben is trying to write an equation that describes all points that are 9 units away from 5, negative 8. What is wrong here? It should have been x minus 5 and y plus 8. And then the other thing, let's see, forgot to do the opposites for the signs, for the x and the y, for the center. And then the correct would be x minus 5 squared plus y plus 8 squared equals 81 or 9 squared. Now let's take a look at the homework. It says the following is another way to develop the equation of a circle. Explain the process. So when you look at this, you have a change. You're going from h comma k, the center, to x comma y. You have one of the sides that is the change of x, and one of the sides that is change of y. So the change of x is going to be the x minus the h, and the change of y is going to be the y minus k. So if you had that, and then you put it into the a squared plus b squared equals c squared, well, the change of x is x minus h squared, the change of y is y minus k squared, and then you would have the hypotenuse squared, which is r squared. So that is a different way you could have developed the formula, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Next one, determine the radius and center of all the following. Remember, the center is going to be the opposite of what you'd assume. It looks like this one is negative 1, 7, but it's actually 1, negative 7 with a radius that is not 9. That's the radius after it's been squared, so it must be a radius of 3. The next one, opposite of what you assume, so it's negative 5, 0, and the radius is not 4. It is the radius after it's been squared is 4, so it must be 2. On the next one, you can go to the center, which is at 4, 2, 4, 2, and then go up 4, down 4, left 4, right 4, and then make a circle with those points. There's a bunch of other points you can put on, but the easiest ones are up, down, left, right. The next one is a center of 0, 4, so you go 0, up 4, and then you go up 5, down 5, left, right 5, and make a circle. Now, the following is the inequality in graph for a circular inequality. Notice that the circle is dotted because it has a less than or greater than. It has, let's put an H in there. Oopsies. Sorry. I'll fix that later. It has a less than or greater than, not less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. The circle will either be shaded inside or outside the circle, depending on if the point inside or the outside is the solution. Test any point not on the circle, so any point inside or any point outside. If it works, shade in that location. If it does not work, shade in the other. I like 0, 0. When I put in 0, 0, I find out that 0, 0 does make the equation true, so I have to shade where 0, 0 was, which is inside. Another really good one would have been if you just tried the center. When you put the center in, they both become zeros because it'll be 3 and negative 1, and you'll get 0 is less than 25, which is true, so you would shade where the center was. Next one. What is the equation of a circle that has endpoints of the diameter being 1, 2, and 7, 10? Remember, you need the center and the radius to write the equation of a circle. What formulas would you use to get the center and the radius? Well, the center is just the midpoint, so we could do the midpoint formula. And when you do the midpoint formula, you end up getting 4, 6. So we can already get the x minus 4 squared plus y minus 6 squared. And then you can either find the whole entire diameter and divide by 2, or you could just go from 4 comma 6 to one of those points, and you find out that you have a radius of 5. So it's equals 5 squared. The main things you guys need to know are the center is going to be the opposite of what you would assume, and the number that is on the side that is the radius squared. So just be very, very careful with that. The opposite of what you would assume, don't forget the squareds. A lot of people say x minus 4 and y minus 6, but they forget the squareds. And once again, this is just the generic way of writing the equation of a circle, just like y equals mx plus b is for a line. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c is a quadratic. This is the generic equation for a circle. All right, thanks for watching.